It's official. The UFC has booked Dustin versus Conor for the third time. And some people like this fight, some people don't. I'm going to watch this fight. The reason why is because what adjustments are going to be made. A lot of was made out of Conor and his new stuck in the mud style, his less karate-esque style. But what has really changed between that first fight that happened way back in the day? I forget when now, but at 145 between Dustin and Conor, and the second fight. What was the major differences, and what adjustments have to be made in the third fight? We'll go over and we'll look at some film study to see what I think is going to happen. Before we go any further, make sure to like and subscribe to the video. If you want more videos like this, make sure to let us know in the comments below. Almost instantly into this fight, you could tell that Dustin wanted to implement a game plan where he was going for the leg kicks. Now, we do know the story of how it ended, where he leg kicked Conor so many times in the calves that it kind of stopped any movement for Conor, or the typical Conor movement that we do see. Instead, he was staying relatively still in the pocket, basically playing into Dustin's game, which he eventually lost. But if we look at right in the beginning of the fight, Conor was able to avoid one of the leg kicks. Now, I'm not saying that Conor is unable to move to avoid leg kicks altogether. This first one is just to demonstrate that Conor, when he is fresh, he has shown that, okay, I can move out and in and out of range to avoid that. Now, I say fresh, but that isn't necessarily the reason why he avoided that strike. It might be also that he was a little bit further away than he was later in the fight. He was a little bit further away, so jumping in and out was a lot easier to avoid that leg kick. But it's something to know. It was something that I didn't really recall or bring up before talking about this fight was the takedowns. I didn't think that Dustin would have a heavy takedown game in this fight or in the second fight, but it was something that he wanted to implement, and it makes sense, right? You grapple him, you know you're going to be able to take Conor down or at least tire him out, and they grappled for quite a bit. That fatigue does add up, right? So not only for Dustin but for Conor, who's in that situation is a person that's exerting a lot of energy, maybe as much or maybe more than Dustin in that situation. So he does go for a takedown. I think in the third fight he's going to go for a takedown as well. But I think Conor in the second fight probably wasn't thinking too much about that takedown. He was maybe more confident that, okay, he's not going to take me down, but if he does, we can just clinch up and scramble back to our feet. Not like, but in reality, that's not what happened. Something that we want, if you watch back this fight, keep a note of how many times this happens. But Conor's, one of his favorite techniques that he uses is just a standard 1-2. But what was a little bit different this time, I looked at his other fights. He does it as well in the other fights. Is he throws the one, so he's southpaw, right? So he throws a one, and then he turns his body to the right. Maybe the reason why he does that is to a little pivot or to sneak around the guard. But when he does that, he stays in the pocket a lot longer. The reason why is because he's in a weird position. He's like this, right? Well, when your body is tilted, you really have limited movement, whether you want to continue on with your strikes or to exit out. Not to say that this technique or this tilting didn't work at all. It did work. There was times where he did land using this similar technique. But as we saw later in the fight, it was kind of Dustin started to read that, and it was kind of something that led to Conor losing as well. So we can look at it like an instance where he stayed in the pocket too long, and he also did that weird twisting body thing. So if you look, Conor does that 1-2 and then twists his body, and it gives Dustin an opportunity to actually throw a clean check right hook that Conor can't really avoid because of his weird, awkward positioning. Dustin, on the other hand, is ready, and he has that check right hook that he likes to use a lot, especially because he's southpaw. He's able to land that, and Conor really can't avoid it because he's in that awkward state. So now we talked about it right in the beginning where the leg kicks that Dustin threw were being treated a little bit differently, right? So he hopped out and he hopped back in, but this time he treated it a little bit differently. Maybe it was because he was a little tired now. Maybe because he was just getting frustrated because Dustin just countered one of his 1-2s. But if you look, Conor kind of just takes this leg kick direct. He eats it. So what does he do is that he eats it, but then he throws a cross right after. So I think he's starting to recognize here, like, okay, I can't just keep eating these leg kicks and doing nothing. I have to react in some way. I have to return with a strike, or I have to like he can't really take him down, but maybe get out of the pocket. But now he's starting to return. So now that Conor is reacting a little bit different to these leg kicks, right away into the second round, he eats a leg kick, to a calf kick, and he gets off balance. What does he do? He instantly pushes the pace. He tries to close the distance and try to hit, and he did land on Dustin. This is kind of similar to the first fight where Conor was eating leg kicks, but it actually worked in the first fight. So he rushes, he closes the distance and lands a shot right behind Dustin's ear. Maybe he was trying to do the same thing again, or it was kind of out of desperation. Like now he's starting to feel these leg kicks, and he feels like he has to react, and he has to do it drastically this time. Now that he kind of maybe because out of fatigue, he's seeing that these strikes that he's landing after he's eating the calf kicks are not really working very much. He starts to catch the foot. And what he does with when he catches his foot is he's kind of indecisive, right? I don't think he necessarily prepared on what to do afterwards. He catches the foot and he tries to return a strike. He catches the foot in another situation, and he lands a head kick, but it was blocked by Dustin because it kind of telegraphed. But now you start to see Conor trying to figure out, like, what do I do? He hasn't necessarily figured out or decided, okay, what is my main response to getting leg kicked? Is it exiting? Is it catching the leg? Is it returning with combinations? What is it? Now Conor is throwing his 1 and 2 techniques, so his jab cross, but it's missing. And not only does it miss once, it misses twice. And he kind of does that tilting motion as well, instead of going straight down the pipe. The issue that Conor is having here is that he's getting a little bit too predictable. So he's probably not panicking, but he's probably having issue trying to figure out this leg kick. At the same time, Dustin is recognizing these patterns. He's seeing that Conor likes to do this 1-2, and he tilts his body to the right. What does Dustin do? Well, he just circles to his right and avoids the strikes, and he avoided it twice in this situation. And just for one last time, just to demonstrate this 1-2 and turning sideways, Conor goes for it again here after getting leg kicked, but he misses because he's just off balance. He can't get a hold of his foundation, and he's just not able to land the 1-2 like he did earlier in the round. That may be because the stability in his leg is gone after all those leg kicks, or just maybe timing or whatnot. But you could see that Conor through this fight has his techniques that he was using previously weren't as effective anymore. So what happens in the third fight? Just to revisit the first fight again, Dustin, before getting knocked out, did land I believe 10 leg kicks on Conor. But what's the difference between the first and second fight? Well, the first fight, it wasn't on the calf. It was more on the thigh. And in the first fight, Conor, the way that he responded to these leg kicks was that he blitzed forward and he hit Dustin, who had his hand not far back enough to block or absorb some of Conor's strikes. And then eventually it just led into that KO. So what happened in the second fight? Well, Dustin readjusted where the leg kick went. He went a little bit lower, and this time he had a better understanding of how to guard against Conor's left hand. Yeah, Dustin did get hit many times in that fight by Conor, but the way that he was getting hit was a lot. He was able to absorb a lot more because they weren't necessarily right on the chin, right? They were on the face, chin down. His hand was up here. He guarded himself. The other thing that's very important, or the difference between the first and second fight, was the weight classes. Dustin Poirier that fight was at 145. Dustin Poirier has shown that he's a lot more durable at 155 as compared to 145. The reason might be, hey, he's not losing as much weight. He's not cutting as much weight. There's more water in his brain, right? So I think Conor in this third fight, is going to have to deal with a lot of issues that Dustin poses in this fight. So he has to deal with the leg kicks again. Well, how do you deal with leg kicks? Get in and out of range. Don't eat them, right? You have to have some sort of recourse or some sort of plan to deal with these leg kicks. Conor's one of the issues was that he just had many different techniques or different approaches that he tried to deal with the leg kicks, but it didn't really pan out, any of them. And the second thing that he has to deal with is with a guy being so durable, right? This guy has taken so many strikes. He's faced Dan Hooker and took over 100 significant strikes from Dan Hooker over those 5 rounds. So Conor has to manage his tank, right? He has to remember that this is not a 1-round fight. This is not a 2-round fight. This is a 5-round main event. So he has to go in there and he has to manage his pace and has to take a similar approach that he did against Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is not getting knocked out by 99% of the division. So Dustin Poirier may also fall into that category nowadays. So what does Conor do? He has to come in with a better game plan. He has to come in there and decide, what am I going to do in these situations, and not just assume that you'll just figure it out there, or Dustin Poirier will fall to your left hand. It's been proven that Dustin Poirier is durable and is durable against that left hand of Conor McGregor.